The morning sun stretched its golden fingers across the worn linoleum of the Connor household kitchen. Jackie was hunched over the wooden table, surrounded by a fortress of thick library books that looked as though they had not been opened since the 1980s. Her eyes darted back and forth across the pages with the intensity of a person trying to solve the secrets of the universe before breakfast. She whispered a name to herself, repeating it like a sacred mantra. "Who is Eckhart Tolle?" She asked the empty air. "Who is Eckhart Tolle?" Dan Connor walked into the room, his heavy boots thumping softly. He watched his sister-in-law for a moment before leaning against the counter. "He is only one of the most famous spiritual teachers of our time, Jackie. But most importantly, he is the best friend of Oprah Winfrey." Jackie looked up, her brow furrowed in genuine confusion. "I thought Gayle King was the best friend of Oprah. At least that is what the little television screen inside the gas pump told me while I was filling up the truck." Dan shrugged, taking a slow sip of his coffee. "Things change, Jackie. People move on. But why the sudden interest in enlightenment?" "Short pants," Jackie muttered, returning to her notes. Short pants, short pants. What exactly are knickerbockers? Do not tell me you are still thinking of going on Jeopardy! It is not the same without Alex Trebek. May he rest in peace." Jackie sighed, a look of reverence crossing her face. "Of course it is not the same. But Alex would want the show to go on. And more importantly, he would want me to go on. He told me that very clearly when I was on that hallucinogenic tea back in the spring." Dan raised an eyebrow. "Oh well, if the drug said so, you absolutely have to do it. Far be it from me to argue with a beverage." "Stop trying to nag me," Jackie snapped, pointing a finger at a drawing of a historical figure. "And what is Little Bighorn? I mean, who is Custer? Damn it, Jackie, you are going to get to that show. You have to get it together." The front door creaked open and Dan's grandson ran into the kitchen, his face flushed with excitement. "Grandpa, can we go to the Laser Max Family Fun Center this weekend? Please?" Dan felt a familiar pang in his chest. They are still social distancing, honey. And to be honest, money is a little tight right now. The boy's face fell, but Dan was quick to salvage the moment. "Hey, you want to play laser tag? Let us go out in the yard, and I will chase you around with a flashlight." Boom. "You are tagged." The boy laughed, the disappointment vanishing as quickly as it had arrived. As he ran back outside, a shadow fell across the doorway. Chuck stood there, a triumphant grin on his face. "Hey man," Chuck said, nodding to Dan. "What is up?" "Nothing much," Dan replied. "Just a quiet morning." "Well, I just thought I would drop by and ask you to look out your window," Chuck said, his voice brimming with secret pride. Dan stepped to the window and pulled back the curtain. Resting on a trailer in the driveway was a gleaming, pristine boat. "It is a boat," Dan stated flatly. "Oh, it is a boat. Your commitment to these practical jokes is truly impressive, Chuck." "It is mine," Chuck declared, stepping fully into the kitchen. "I just bought it. It took me a minute to convince Anne-Marie. But once I got the grandkids to whine at that specific high pitch that makes her crazy, she finally gave in." "Good for you," Dan said, though his voice lacked the enthusiasm Chuck was clearly looking for. "You want some coffee?" "No, I do not want some coffee," Chuck laughed. "I want you to come out and look at my boat." "I saw it from here," Dan said, returning to his seat. "You want some coffee or not?" "I want to go see your boat," Jackie yelled from the table, her eyes lighting up. Chuck gestured toward her. "See, that is how you act when someone gets a boat. Come on, get excited, man. We are going to have a blast this summer on Lake Michigan. I am hoping you and Louise will be able to join us sometime. We can cruise around and drink some beer. It will be great." Dan looked at his old friend, a knot of resentment tightening in his stomach. "That sounds great. Kind of ironic, is it not?" Chuck's smile faltered. "What do you mean?" "I mean, it just goes to show you," Dan said, his voice dropping. "It goes to show you what?" Chuck asked. "Well, it is funny how I am the one that gave you a job years ago," Dan said, the words spilling out before he could stop them. "I made you a partner in my business, and now you have a boat, and I do not." The air in the kitchen suddenly felt very heavy. Chuck stared at Dan, his jaw tightening. "Are you saying I should not have a boat?" "No, no," Dan said, waving a hand dismissively. "I am not saying you should not have a boat. I am just saying I probably should have had a boat first." "You know what, Dan? You are right," Chuck said, his voice dripping with sudden, sharp sarcasm. "How dare I have a boat before you? Come on, I did not mean it like that." Dan tried to backtrack. "Oh yes, you did," Chuck insisted. You just did not know you did. You know, I will try and remember to stay a step below you from now on. Dan stood up, his own temper beginning to flare. What are you getting so worked up about? I told you I like your stupid boat. Now sit down and have some coffee. Do not tell me what to do. Chuck shouted. I do not even know why I came over here. He turned and marched out the door, the screen slamming behind him. Jackie looked up from her books, her eyebrows raised. Well, she noted dryly, that was certainly a spiritual breakthrough. While the storm was brewing at the house, Darlene was navigating a different kind of territory at the Wellman Plastics factory. She stood in the center of a small, windowless office, staring at the nameplate on the desk. Wow, she whispered. I cannot believe I actually have my own office. Robin, her supervisor, leaned against the doorframe, checking her watch. Well, if it is too much for you, we can always get you a milk crate and a stool in the warehouse. No, 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 Darlene said quickly. It is weird, but it is kind of cool. In the meantime, I have set up some interviews for you, Robin said, tossing a folder onto the desk. So you can hire an assistant. An assistant? Darlene frowned. I am pretty much the kind of person that likes to do everything by myself. Just ask my boyfriend how I am in bed. I did, Robin quipped. He said you definitely need an assistant. You were 10 minutes late today. I was 15 minutes late yesterday. How about an atta girl for our collective effort? Before Darlene could respond, her sister Becky poked her head in. So this is what it is like living inside the belly of the beast, she said, looking around the tiny room. Where do you keep the stick? Okay, did you come here just to torment me? Darlene asked. Mostly, Becky admitted. But I am also here on union steward business. The time clock is 5 minutes off, so we are all getting written up for coming in late. Maybe you people up here could put down your caviar spoons for a minute and come down and fix it. I will look into it, Darlene sighed. Now beat it. I have to interview some people. You know, in an interview, you have to pretend to listen to people, Becky called out as she left. All I have to do is look in their eyes, nod periodically, and then do that smiling thing, Darlene muttered to herself. And that is how the Joker became the Joker. A few minutes later, the door opened, and a woman walked in with a look of pure defiance. Man, she said, leaning against the doorframe. You could not hold me down, could you? Lanford, who is the bitch now? Darlene blinked, confused. Excuse me? Oh, the woman said, her face instantly shifting into a mask of professional politeness. I am here for the interview. Darlene stood up, flustered. Oh my God, hi? I am so sorry. I am Darlene Connor. First question, do you still want to work for me after hearing that? No worries, the woman replied with a shaky laugh. My last boss shot a champagne cork out his window and killed a bird. Darlene gestured to the chair. Okay, where should we start? Can I sit down? The woman asked. Oh my God, yes, please sit down, Darlene said. So, I am interested in your background. What is that you have in your hand? Oh, this? The woman held up a small, furry object. This is just a little rabbit foot my daughter Ruthie gave me for luck. If I get this job, she can finally get her own computer. She has been using the computer at the halfway house down the block, but I am really not comfortable with her asking the junkies how to spell things. Darlene felt a sharp pang of sympathy. You are hired, she said immediately. The woman gasped. Wow, really? No other questions? Oh God, no, Darlene said. I would not put either one of us through that. Thank you so much. The woman cried. This is going to be great. What do you usually wear to work? Darlene looked down at her flannel shirt. Something kind of like what I am wearing today. Why? Let me just take a quick photo, the woman said, pulling out her phone. That way I can be sure we coordinate. I want people to know I belong to you. Darlene watched her leave, a sinking feeling beginning to settle in her stomach. You always get the last laugh, do you not, Lanford? Back at the house, the tension had not dissipated. Dan was sitting at the kitchen table, watching Jackie stack books on top of a single piece of paper. I do not know what you are trying to flatten, but it must be pretty curled to need all those books. I realize that there are some Jeopardy categories I am not as strong in, Jackie explained. So I am trying to memorize history. Which part? Dan asked. Human, Jackie replied without looking up. There was a knock at the door, and Dwight, a young man from the construction crew, walked in. Hey, can I come in? I have been tested for all sorts of things, but the COVID one is good. Sure, Dan said. What is going on, Dwight? Chuck asked me to drop this off, Dwight said, handing Dan a legal envelope. What is in it? Jackie asked. It is a bill, Dan said, his face turning pale. Chuck is officially breaking up the partnership, and he assumes I am going to keep all the equipment we bought, so he wants to be reimbursed for half. Chuck is breaking up your partnership? Jackie asked, shocked. What happened? I did not do cartwheels over his dumbass boat, Dan said, and he lost his mind about it. He knows I am struggling to hang on to my house, and he pulls a boat into my driveway. He might as well park it at my behind. He called the ship the SS Take That. You know what would show Chuck a thing or two? Dwight suggested. If you got yourself a new partner, an attractive young one. I am done with partners, Dan said firmly. Okay, so we are negotiating, Dwight said. You are offering me nothing. I will take a silent partnership and I will work for minimum wage. Final offer. That is less than I pay you now, Dan pointed out. Yes, but I am a partner, Dwight said. It sounds way better on the dating apps. You city girls do not know what you want. Is there anything you want me to pass on to Chuck? Tell him I will get him his money when I am damn good and ready, Dan said. I will give him the message, Dwight said, backing away. But I do not think I can replicate your ferocity. Back at the factory, Darlene was trying to settle into her new role. Her assistant, Lisa, walked in with a stack of papers. Lisa, can you print the latest production reports and put them on my desk, please? Sure, Lisa said. Oh, hey, boss. Do you want me to get Ruthie on her new computer so she can say thank you to her Auntie Darlene? Darlene winced. That is sweet, but no. And I am not really comfortable with Auntie Darlene. Let us start with Mrs. Connor and see where it goes after 5 or 6 years. The phone rang, and Lisa snatched it up. Darlene Connor's office. It is Jeanette from sales. Lisa looked at Darlene. Hey, Jeanette. I am sorry. Let me put you on hold for a second. Why is Jeanette screaming at me? Darlene asked. She just called me something I only hear in Quentin Tarantino films, Lisa said. Oh, right. You know, she called earlier saying there is a lot of orders coming in and that you need to get on your people to increase their output. I told her that you said your people are working as fast as they can and to get off your back, or you will come down there and kick her ass. What? Darlene stood up, her eyes wide. Why would you do that? Jeanette is just trying to push you around because you are a new boss, Lisa explained. You need to shank someone right away to get respect. Jeanette. Janet. Darlene shouted into the hallway. Why do I not come down to your office and we can hash this out, okay? She turned back to Lisa. All right, we have got a problem. Are you mad at me? Lisa asked. No, Darlene said. This is your first day, and I should have made it clear that you should not threaten department heads on my behalf. Well, that would have helped, Lisa admitted. My bad. That evening, the house was a sanctuary of sorts. Darlene sat on the couch with her daughter Mary and young Josh. Oh my God, Twilight. I want to see this. Mary, it is way past your bedtime. What are you doing up? It is hard to sleep with all that is going on in the world, Mary said, her eyes glued to the television. Shoo, Darlene said. You know what, Josh? I have seen this movie so many times. What I really want to watch right now is C-SPAN. Next order of business, item number 1742. Does Josh know that mental illness runs in our family? Mary asked. It is not mental illness, Darlene corrected. It is drug abuse, alcoholism, and a poor diet. You are rich, right, Josh? Are you going to give Paris some of that money? Twilight. That is a tricky one for a girl your age, Darlene added. They are in love, but he wants to suck her blood out and kill her. Remember, you deserve better than that. Later, Dan was sitting in the kitchen, staring at a custody agreement for his power tools. Jackie walked in. You talked to Chuck yet? No point, Dan said. I am writing up a custody agreement about our equipment. I figure we could do every other week. The important thing is that the tools do not think it is their fault. You guys have known each other for over 40 years, Jackie said. You are really going to throw this relationship away over a boat. They will make new friends, Dan said. No, you won't, Jackie countered. You are very unpleasant. Okay, maybe I was a little jealous, Dan admitted. But he is the one that blew the whole thing up. Come on, Dan, Jackie said. He is your best friend. If something good happened to you, who would you call? When Roseanne went into labor with Becky, who was the first person at the hospital? Chuck, Dan whispered. But he only beat me there because the place he was drinking was closer to the hospital than the place I was drinking. And who did you call first when Roseanne died? Jackie asked. Dan was silent for a long moment. You should just call him, Jackie said. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe we can get our own damn boat. Because I just made the Jeopardy audition face. Talk to Chuck or not, I do not care. The next day, Darlene was facing the consequences of Lisa's enthusiasm. Becky walked into her office. So not only did you not fix the clock, but now we cannot make eye contact with you in the hallway? What? Darlene asked. This was not me, Darlene said, looking at the new office policy on her desk. This was Lisa. I mean, I kind of like the concept, but it is not appropriate. This woman is out of control. Well, you did ask her one whole question in the interview, Becky said. What more could you do? I only needed one question, Darlene said. But it should have been, are you insane? You have to fire her, Becky said. No, Darlene shook her head. That is what our bosses always have done to us. And we always complain that we did not get a second chance. When I got fired in Chicago, it literally killed me. I came home, I cried to Mom, and I did not even know how to move forward. I am not going to do that to somebody else. Can I do it? Becky asked. No, I have to step up and be a boss, Darlene said. I will be her mentor the way Robin mentored me. But let us be honest, Becky said. How good of a job did Robin really do? I mean, look at you. You are a mess. I am not, Darlene protested. I am forging my own management style. It is a mix of conflict avoidance, blue-collar guilt, and a dash of irritable bowel syndrome. Chef's kiss. While Darlene was struggling with her management style, Dan was walking down to the local marina. He saw Chuck standing on his boat, wiping down the railing. Boy, this really is a nice boat, Dan said, stopping on the dock. I took the ferry to Mosquito one time, but I did not experience the pure joy of boating because I was in my truck eating a cheeseburger. What do you want, Dan? Chuck asked. Permission to come aboard? Dan asked. Suit yourself, Chuck said. I am sorry I did not jump up and down about the boat, Dan said as he stepped onto the deck. But you know what kind of money troubles I have. I guess it felt like you were shoving the thing in my face. Look, you know me better than that, Dan, Chuck said. I just wanted you to be happy for me. That is all. Part of me was, Dan admitted. Part of me was mad at myself that I did not get one too. Hey, it is not my fault that you suck at money, Chuck laughed. Couldn't hold on to a dollar bill if it had a handle. Neither one of us had a lot, Dan said. The difference was that I put away $20 a week for 40 years. Yeah, but I bet you never had the joy of blowing your entire paycheck at the state fair on things that are not supposed to be fried, but are, Dan said. I am a black man, Chuck said. I got fried all day, every day at home. Look, I get why you were pissed at me, but I do not know why you had to bust up the business. Because you were going on and on about doing me a favor for bringing me on to your crew and making me your partner. Chuck said, you think that stuff happened because I could not do it on my own? I did not say that, Dan said. Well, I could not, Chuck said, because I am black and you are white. In those days, a black man running a construction company was not going to happen. I could not get a lumber yard to give me credit. I could not get a loan from a bank. And there were plenty of white customers that would not trust me with their business. You never talked to me about this, Dan said. Come on, man, Chuck said. You have been in the world even if I told you. You do not live it. You would not understand. Look, do not get me wrong. I appreciate the job and the fact that your giant pale puffy face helped me get my boat. Well, sometimes behind a giant white face is somebody that wants the best for you, Dan said. I hope you learned a little bit about race here today. Screw you, old man, Chuck laughed. Hey, just so you know, when I hired you I thought I was hiring a friend, Dan said. No, we were not friends, Chuck said. I did what I had to do to get by, and it turned out that you were a good guy. So hell yeah, now we are friends. You are like a 14-year-old girl, Dan, Chuck teased. I will get you a friendship bracelet. I want the kind where we each get half a heart, Dan said. And what do you say we tear up this custody agreement and get back to work? Yeah, well, I have been thinking about that lately, Dan, Chuck said. I am tired. I have decided I am going to retire. What? Dan asked. I do not want to work anymore, Chuck said. I want to enjoy my life. Why would you want to enjoy your life when you can work yourself to death with me? Dan asked. I am sorry, Dan, Chuck said. Do not be, Dan said. I get it. We should celebrate. Too bad you have no beer on this boat. Lift up the seat cushion, Chuck said. Which one? Dan asked. Any one, Chuck replied. Tada. Dan laughed as he found the cooler. This is so great. I want to do this with all my furniture. Back at the factory, Darlene was waiting for Lisa. Lisa walked in, beaming. Hey, Darlene. Look who knows where you live. Oh, I am so sorry, Lisa said. But I wanted to prepare you before you got to work. I tried to move your parking spot to the front of the building by saying you had rickets. Now they are asking for a doctor note, so we are going to have to figure something out. Sit down, Darlene said. We need to talk. What are you doing here, Becky? As the union steward, I feel I should be here to protect the interest of this employee, Becky said. You cannot stay, Darlene told her. Fine, Becky said. Good luck with everything. I do not need luck, I let my work do the talking. Lisa called out. Listen, Darlene said. Here's the thing. You have been messing up a lot. But I am going to be the kind of boss I wish I had. So instead of firing you, I am going to give you one warning. Let me stop you right there, Lisa said. My job is to protect you. I am the Doberman that is going to protect the junkyard that is Darlene Connor. Okay, I am going to give you an extra warning, Darlene said. Thank you so much. Lisa said. If you had fired me, I do not know what I would have told Jamie. Who is Jamie? Darlene asked. My daughter, Lisa said. Your daughter's name is Ruthie, Darlene said. Oh, I did say that, Lisa giggled. Oops. I made her up to get the job. This is another reason why you need me. You are gullible. Okay, you are fired, Darlene said flatly. What? Lisa asked. Look, as someone who considered being your mentor, you should know there is something missing or broken in your head, Darlene said. I cannot have another firing on my resume. Lisa cried. It is going to work out, Darlene said. You do not have a kid anymore, so that will save you money. Can you still be my mentor? Lisa asked. That might be hard since you will not be allowed in our building anymore, Darlene said. Darlene then opened the door for her next interview. A stern woman walked in. I am super easy to work for, Darlene said. And I guess I just have one question. You are not going to love me too much and do weird things, are you? Oh no, the woman replied. You are an atheist and full of the devil. I have to pray to God every time I leave your presence. Perfect, Darlene said. We are going to get along just fine. Oh, and here is a picture of Lisa. One of your jobs is to keep her away from me. How permanently do you want me to do that? The woman asked. Well, the hand of God will smite your enemies for $250. Are you talking about a hitman? Darlene asked. No, that would be wrong, the woman said. It is a contribution to my prayer circle. It worked for my friend with the abusive husband. He fell in the shower. Well, Darlene said, leaning back in her chair. I only have a couple more people to interview, but I think this went well.